So this morning I woke up and I was eating breakfast and people were making a lot of noise, and it kind of selfishly admittedly reminded me of the time that I spent when I was living by myself, where I wouldn't have to wake up to a lot of noise. I'd wake up and it'd be a little bit peaceful. I'd be able to get in my day, do what I wanted to do, have that little bit of extra freedom, that extra responsibility. I personally enjoyed it. I enjoyed that kind of freedom being by myself. And for a while I've been having to adjust to having to live in a house with people again. It was a much bigger adjustment maybe 8 months ago or so. But even now, I have moments where I think about that time. In today's episode, it's given me the inspiration, this moment. It's given me the idea in my head for this episode today, where I'm going to talk about how you can be responsible. We're all going to have to live on our own at some point. How you should live if you're going to be living by yourself, what it looks like to be responsible, and what it looks like to be independent, and how that differentiates, how your lifestyle differentiates from being by yourself, independent, versus living with other people in a household, in a family. So there's a lot of interesting things to talk about in today's episode with regards to this concept. So I hope you enjoy it. Welcome back to the 365 podcast. Let's get right into it. I make a podcast episode every single day for 365 days. You will be hated for speaking the truth.
You definitely have like an x-ray goggles on where you can see someone's aura.
A house divided against itself shall not stand. Matthew chapter 12, verse 25.
If you want to make something of yourself, forget your political beliefs.
Because different believers experience God in different ways, different non-believers need different explanations to see God as real. Things that make you angry suck you in.
Satan's plan fails, right? And God's plan prevails.
So me personally, I enjoy the independence. I feel like when I'm depending on other people to do things for me, sometimes it could kind of make me feel a little bit lazy. Like I found that actually my days were a lot better when I would do things like clean and do the laundry and cook, right? That kind of stuff. It made me feel, I don't know, it made me feel like, A, there's more stuff to do with my time. And it would just make me feel better about myself, because I think there's that kind of good feeling that you get when you're independent, when you're responsible, when you're on your own. I'm lucky enough at my young age to have gone through it. Everyone's going to go through it at some point. Everyone's going to have to live on their own at some point, most likely. 90 to 95% of us will. Very rarely do you jump straight from, oh, you live with your family, to then you jump straight into living with your wife, right? Or your girlfriend, your new family, right? That's the idea. There's always going to be a middle period where you're by yourself. So what are you supposed to do to make that time as fruitful as possible? What are you supposed to do to be responsible? Because I'm lucky enough that I've gone through it already. I've gone through living by myself. I was by myself for over a year. So I'm actually very lucky that I went through all of that, because it taught me a lot about responsibility, about independence. But at the same time, then having to come back into my household, it's giving me a little bit of growing pains, because I was like, man, it was so good when I could just wake up and eat breakfast and kind of just be chill, right? Just have some peace and quiet. No, but now everyone wakes up, and then there's always something going on. The radio's blasting or whatever's happening, right? And it's like, me personally, it's like, if you don't know me, I'm not really a morning person. So when I wake up in the morning, I want it to be quiet, peaceful, and then whatever I do my workout or I eat my breakfast. And once I get through my routine, then I can get into the day, and then I can slowly get myself into whatever extra things need to be done, right? Whereas if you're for me, it just kind of messes me up a little bit, messes up my personal flow when I wake up and everyone's talking and yelling at times, trying to get ready to go to school and work and all that stuff, or just the radio's playing and it's kind of loud, and the music, it's poppy and it's annoying. For me, it kind of messes me up, and it makes me think about that time past. But at the same time, it's like, yes, I'm not ungrateful. Of course, I love my family. I love the time. It's just these little things that have inspired me to think about my time. So what does it look like? What does it look like when you are independent, when you are responsible, when you are living on your own? So many people, when they live on their own, you look at like a dorm room, an average dorm room, it'll be a mess. A lot of people are very irresponsible because so many people, they haven't gone through the experience of living on their own. So some people, they get lonely quickly, they get homesickness, they miss their parents, they miss their family, they miss whoever they're missing, and it causes them to not focus on the task at hand, which is what you need to do. A lot of times it's because you go to school and you go to school far away and you live in a dorm room. A lot of times that's how it works for a lot of people. Or a lot of other times it's just you've finally decided to get an apartment or something like that, and you've moved out and you want to be responsible. But so many people, they have not actually gotten used to it. So there will always be like that little growing pain when it comes to living on your own. But I think that's truly the first step to manhood. Is the first step to becoming an adult is spending time on your own and getting used to some of those responsibilities that you do have as an adult. Of course, working a job and making money and making a budget and being financially responsible, that's a big step of being an adult. But also the little things, the living in a space by yourself, being responsible with how you manage your time, cooking for yourself, cleaning, keeping things organized, doing your laundry, that kind of stuff. Hygiene, all of that. So many people when they end up on their own, sometimes it's like a big jump and they fall off, let's say, like for lack of a better word, their room's a mess, right? They lose control, they don't keep care of their hygiene, they make quick meals, ramen noodles, all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of a recipe for disaster if you ask me. For me personally, my favorite part of living by myself was just being able to cook. I had control over what I ate. I had control over what my space looked like, the organization of everything, and that kind of gave me a little bit of a peace. Being in control. I don't know. Maybe you can call it like you. Everyone I think wants to have a little bit of structure and control over their life in some regard, and when you're living by yourself, it kind of gives you an opportunity to have that. But a lot of people, because of the growing pains, they struggle to get that control at least right away, at least in the beginning. But I'd say the main things that you want to kind of look to trying and doing if you're going to be living by yourself is cooking. You should cook your meals. At times, I definitely did a couple times, like just microwavable meals, but as often as possible, cook, right? Cook on a stove, in the oven if you have an oven, meats, pasta, rice, all that kind of stuff. First of all, it taught me how to cook, which it's obviously a good skill for your life, and you can just have the opportunity to make good food for yourself because you have control over what you make. And I would make the food that I liked, and I really, even if I ate like the same stuff, really, because I lived by myself because I was trying to make it as a professional soccer player. I didn't live by myself just for fun, so I was making healthy meals. I wasn't making like a bunch of crap. So even if I was eating the same stuff pretty much every day, every week, it never really got old because I just really enjoyed the process of cooking. I enjoyed actually eating food that I made, and that's a great pride. That's a good version of pride where it's like you made something and it was good. Keeping things clean is also a very important part of it. If it's very easy for you to just you blink and your room's just an absolute mess, right? And a lot of people, they do not fix their rooms, and well, living like that, living like a slob, I don't think anything, it's not fulfilling, right? Like living a little dirty, it's not good. And I don't have to go so deep into how bad it gets for some people, but I'd say make your bed in the morning. You have the space, you have the time, you have the responsibility. Make your bed in the morning, clean as often as you can, dust the hard to reach places, all that kind of stuff. Organize your food, organize whatever you have. Like for me, like your clothes, your books. For me, I had a lot of books, so I had like a whole shelf of books, and then I'd have a desk with my laptop and other things, and then I'd have a closet with my clothes, and then the pantry with all my food, all completely neat and organized. Everything has a place, and and hygiene as well. Keep yourself hygiene, like have hygiene, brush your teeth, make sure you're cleaning your toilet as well. That can be pretty gross and disgusting sometimes, and a lot of people slack at that. These are just like the little things that make for being responsible in the real world as an adult, living by yourself. Even if you're going to school and you're in a dorm room, all of these things still apply. And and like some places they have places to cook, other places they don't. Like some places they give you food. There's like a meal schedule, but whenever you can, if you can, find a place to cook. And I'm pretty sure most dorm rooms, apartments have a kitchen, a shared kitchen, a shared space of some kind. Mine definitely did. So like I had a stove in my room, but there was also a kitchen. So for if you wanted to make, if you for whatever reason you wanted to make like a bigger meal, something that couldn't really fit in your tiny stove, you would go to the kitchen and do it. And a lot of people, I didn't do it. I didn't use it because I was just cooking for myself. But a lot of people did go and use the kitchen. So the point I'm trying to make here is I'm kind of giving you a sneak peek a little bit into my life, like what I kind of went through these days living by myself, what I learned, the experience of doing it. And And it is just that responsibility, is that independence. You will feel so much better about yourself. You will feel more confident when you're like, you're independent. You're like, yes, I do this. I'm in control of my life. I control what I eat, when I eat. I control the organization and cleanliness of my space, my personal hygiene. I control what time I go to bed, what time I wake up in the morning. And all of that is a very positive thing, right? It's just simply like you're being an adult, you're being responsible, you're keeping things tidy, you're keeping things organized, and you're continuing to work towards your goal, right? For me, it was my pro football journey, right? But for you, it might be you're in school or it might be you're working, whatever that thing is. Eventually, we are all going to have to live on our own, and I'm going to have to go back and live on my own at some point in a different place, in a different setting, with different circumstances. But I look back on that time that I spent by myself with a fondness. And it's because it was just something better about the way I was living because I had control over things. And I think, as I already mentioned, we do want control over it. So control what you eat, control your cooking, control your cleaning, control your laundry. A lot of people don't do this. So this, you could be kind of laughing at this because it's very simple, right? Like I'm literally telling you to clean your toilet. Don't forget to clean your toilet, right? That's what I'm telling you. This is the quality of the 365 podcast now. That's what we're doing. But there's an overarching point to all of this that like if you do all that and you're living by yourself, you will feel a lot better. Whereas you can just kind of fall into the trap of just wasting a lot of your life away because of the fact that your room is not clean. And again, that kind of shows who you are as a person. If your room's not clean, your bed's not made, everything's a mess, you don't focus on your hygiene enough, it kind of just shows, it kind of just demonstrates, right? It demonstrates who you are as a person, right? You're not going to, when you eventually go and you live with someone, you're not going to just magically flip a switch. You need to learn these skills, albeit very small skills at times and simple skills at times. They are still important skills to learn for your life because you're all going to have to go through it. Every single one of us goes through it in some regard. So the cooking, the cleaning, the organizing, the hygiene, the laundry. I had a great routine when I would do my laundry Sunday mornings. I'd wake up. I'd wake up early on Sundays. I would go and I would do like my morning mobility, morning stretches type of thing, and then I would go do laundry, and then I would go shopping. I forgot about that. You have to, most likely you're going to have to buy your food as well and plan things, right? So plan your budget for the week for what you have to spend. Again, also very important adulting skills that will translate to your life later on. But yeah, I'd go shopping and I'd go buy my food and then I'd come home. I'd put everything away. I'd grab the laundry, put them in the dryer, and then I would wait a bit. Usually I'd do some reading. I'd read my Bible or I'd just do something important, something that I would do on my laptop, some work on my laptop, whatever, just a little bit of thing to pass the time. Get the clothes out of the dryer, make sure everything's good, set up the food so that when I get home I can just start cooking, and then I would go to church because obviously it's Sunday, so I'm going to rejoice in Jesus' holy day because I am a Christian man. I go to church. That's a part of my routine. It doesn't have to be part of your routine. That would be my routine in the morning. Then I'd come back, make lunch, and then get into the rest of the day, usually with a harder afternoon workout of some kind, or I'd go watch one of my team's games because usually they play Sundays. That would be what my Sunday looks like. And I would have that day specifically, okay, we're going to do laundry, we're going to do shopping. That's how it's going to work. It wasn't perfect every single week, of course, because sometimes things happen and that's life. But that routine, that schedule for me was something greater than anything else. It kept me focused. It kept me in control of things. And when I was in control of things, it made my life a lot smoother, a lot happier, and a lot more peaceful, truly. Like it made everything else easy because I had a routine to take the unnecessary stresses away from tasks and from chores and things. So it's an important thing. You don't have to do it exactly how I did it, but I guess this is giving, the interesting part of it is I'm giving you like an insight as to the workings and the doings of what I was doing when I was living by myself. And it's an interesting thing because I'm sure there's probably a lot more wisdom that I have to share from that time. But I think that's kind of the sneak peek I'm going to give you in terms of how that was for me. Just those simple things, they're a little bit difficult, right? Because cooking will take maybe half an hour, right? It'll take an extra half hour of your day, probably an extra hour total if you're going to be cooking both meals. Usually, pro tip, right? I would cook my meals for the day in one cooking session. Or like if I'm doing pasta with meat, I will make enough meat for 2 servings, and same with the pasta. So then I would have food for lunch and dinner, so I wouldn't have to spend time cooking for dinner either, right? especially if I had something to do in the day, I could get home and just put the food on the plate, heat it up, and eat it rather than spending another half hour cooking. Or if I was making rice, I'd make enough rice for actually 4 meals. So it'd be 2 days worth of rice. Again, makes it easier. You can do that, right? You have the little bit of extra freedom to do that and plan that. Make the rest of your life easy by getting through those, a little bit more tedious things as quick as possible. But yeah, the cooking will take half an hour, sometimes longer. The cleaning, if you're going to clean consistently, it'll take at least half an hour, again, sometimes longer, depending on how big your space is, your apartment, your dorm room is, depending on how big it is. Hygiene is obviously going to take time, right? Like, you got to clean your shower, you got to clean your toilet, you got to clean your sinks. That's your responsibility now. Otherwise, it'll just rot, right? Like, you don't want mold, right? I had a little bit of mold in my shower. You don't want that. It's just ugly. It's just gross, and it sometimes can even make you sick at times if it's the bad kind of mold. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So the difference is it now becomes your responsibility to do these things. It's now no longer the responsibility of your parents or your guardians or whoever you're living with. It is now you and your own responsibility to take action, to take control of these things, to keep things neat and tidy, and to keep yourself organized so that the rest of your life can be organized. It starts with your room, it starts with your bed, it starts with your space. Especially if you are living by yourself, it is absolutely now up to you to be independent, to be responsible, so that these exact skills will translate in great ways to the future of your life. So it's an important thing. It's an important thing. It's a small skill. It's very simple. It's a very simple concept, right? But I feel like a lot of us, we rely too much on the people around us to get things done for us. But to take action, to take the initiative, and to do it for yourself, it's good. But it makes it easier if you're actually living by yourself. But even if you're not living by yourself, that's what I'd recommend. It's like, for me right now, even if I'm living in a house with a lot of people, and the things are a little bit different, and lifestyle things are a little bit different for me, I still do my own laundry, for example. Like, I make sure to always do my laundry. I make sure to always clean my spaces. I don't do the cooking anymore, and I kind of wish I did the cooking still, if I'm being honest. But the kind of overarching point here is I'm still trying to keep as much structure as I can from that time where I was living by myself, because I know that a lot of that was very good for me. It was very good for my soul. It was very good for me to just have that structure, that control over these other things, to then make the rest of my life as good as possible. And I was able to kind of fulfill that as much as I possibly could have in that time, working towards my goals and my dreams, my desires that I was working towards. The living by myself was a very, 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 very nice thing. And I really do have a lot of nostalgia about those times. I kind of miss those times, in all honesty. But of course, all good things in life have to come to an end. But the point of me making this episode, the point of me talking about these things, is that don't overlook these skills. Don't overlook this aspect of responsibility. Because again, if you're responsible in one aspect, it translates to everything else. It translates to who you are as a person, right? If your room is messy, probably a lot of other things in your life are messy. But if your room is clean, everything is organized, more of a chance that everything else in your life will be organized. Right? The way let's say just an example, right? If your room is messy, maybe you're also the type of person that when they study for like an exam, they have their books and their papers all over the place, right? So you're disorganized in this regard, and you're having to flip through trying to find like the note that you wanted to look at, right? And it takes you just extra time. It's less efficient, right? And a lot of people, they look at you and they're like, "Yo, what are you doing, man?" Right? But if you're the type of person that has a clean, tidy, organized room, it'll translate. Maybe then when you're studying, you have like a couple of books laid out, you know where everything is, you're efficient with your time, and you're studying properly, right? I'm just giving a school example because a lot of the times you're going to be living by yourself in a dorm room, and that is the first time you're going to be living by yourself. So it's overlooked. It's an overlooked thing, but it really is a completely different lifestyle when you're in a house with other people who do things for you, and you take that for granted. Living by yourself kind of opens your eyes to the fact that you take a lot of what other people do for you for granted. So to then kind of do it yourself and to kind of see how sometimes difficult the things might be, right? Another thing, washing your own dishes, right? That's another task that's a little bit tedious, a little bit mundane, but you're going to have to do it every single day. Pots and pans, from the cooking, the bowls, the plates, the glasses, the way I would do it is I would just do it at the end of every day. So I would leave stuff in there from breakfast, lunch in there till the end of the days. Most of the time, sometimes if I was feeling in the mood, I would do it right after I ate. But for the most part, I would wait till the end of the day, get my headphones on, play some music or a podcast, and it's like a 20-minute, half-hour process. But that was my routine. That is what I chose to do. But for you, it can be something different. But again, it's those mundane, tedious tasks that you're gonna have to do throughout your life, right? You're not gonna have the people to rely on for your own life. And there is a real importance in having responsibility, in having independence. Because again, your life is you don't want to live with your parents your whole life, right? You don't want to be that guy that lives with their parents for their whole life, right? I'm lucky enough to say that I've spent a lot of time away from them and I've learned these exact lessons that like I don't exactly know how to put it into the most succinct and articulate wording, but the point is responsibility is important and it's something we take for granted. The things other people do for us we take for granted. To then spend some time by yourself having these responsibilities and this independence, it's something that will hit you hard. I think it's something that will kind of make you realize just how lucky you've been throughout your life, and it will kind of allow you to move forward in your life, allow you to actually be an adult. Because yes, you need to have some of that childlike energy to truly have a loving, peaceful, fulfilling life. That's what God calls us to do, to have. But you still have to be an adult, right? You still got to do those kind of mundane tasks, the chores. That's why parents make kids do chores. I mean, good parents make kids do chores because they're going to have to do them for themselves. Otherwise, they're going to be a sloppy mess. And I don't think anyone really wants that. Like, it's not a good feeling. I've had it at times where, like, one individual day I didn't do the dishes, or one individual day I left stuff out, left stuff a little bit disorganized, didn't make my bed, the floors were dirty still, didn't clean anything, like, for a couple of days. And it was like, immediately I was like, ugh, this is gross. I can't live like this, right? So then I had to just do it, right? So then I spent a day, right, or spent a couple hours, right, washing dishes, spring cleaning, basically, washing the dishes, doing the cleaning, cleaning the floors, cleaning the bathroom, and making my bed, washing my sheets, all that stuff, taking out the garbage, all that kind of stuff. These are the chores that a lot of people do when they're younger, but why do kids hate doing chores? Because it's something a little bit tedious. It's something that they don't really want to do. But as you grow older, as you get to these responsibilities, it becomes necessary. Otherwise, you're just gonna live in a trashy mess. And I don't think anyone wants to live in a trashy mess. Like, I've heard stories of people who they were looking for a place to stay, and their friend offered them to live with them, but then they went into their apartment and it was an absolute mess that they didn't even want to live with them, right? They didn't even want to do it because it would have just, they saw the future. They were like, oh, I'd have to do all the cleaning because this guy doesn't clean up after himself. And that happens, unfortunately. But I think for you watching this video, anything that you might take from this to navigate these things is to just be responsible, right? I look at my life and I look at the things I've gone through and I look at that and I think it's absolutely true that these little things, these chores, these little mundane tasks that take a little bit of time of your day, they're good for you. They are good for you because you will need to do these things throughout your life, and they will need to become daily habits, a daily part of your life. If you want to live a clean, organized, well-oriented life instead of just being a slob the whole time, right? That is kind of your decision, and that's why I'm kind of talking about this, because I find it interesting. I find it's true that a lot of people definitely do kind of just leave their apartments messy and all, and they don't actually do the chores they need to do. And those are the types of people that, like, yeah, like, when push comes to shove, they're not going to actually do more, right? They're not going to be fully responsible. So you don't want to be that type of a person, is what I'm trying to say. Be responsible, be independent, do those chores. If you're going to live by yourself, that's what you need to expect. You're going to cook. Learn how to cook. It's not that hard. It's really not that hard. You learn how to cook. Do the dishes. You're going to have to do the dishes. You're going to have to make sure things are organized. You're going to have to keep a clean place and keep yourself hygienated. Do your laundry. Take out the trash at least a few times a week, right? Go shopping. Plan yourself financially. Plan a budget. All this kind of stuff. You're going to have to do these eventually. So when you live by yourself, it's the best time to develop these small but important necessary skills. Then you can apply them to the rest of your life as well. So I found it very interesting when I was living in my apartment by myself for over a year. I found it very interesting. You'd think that it would be lonely, right? It'd be lonely. You're living by yourself. But I did enough things outside of my house that I wasn't lonely. I had a lot of people around me, even during that time. And at the same time, when I was inside, of course, I believe in God, and I believe God's always with you no matter what. So you can never be lonely because of that fact. But just the being busy, right? Getting things done, right? If you need to wash the dishes, if you need to cook, it takes up time of your day, it takes up space in your mind, and you can focus on those tasks rather than focusing on like the existential crisis picture, whatever, right? You won't be lonely. I truly don't think you will be lonely if you live by yourself. And getting these things done, it just makes you, I don't know what it is, it makes you feel good inside because you did it. You get it done. There's something therapeutic about cleaning. I don't know what it is, even to this day. There's something therapeutic about doing it. Even, you put music on, you listen to music, you clean, or if you just do it without music, it's like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. But I'm done rambling. I'm done talking about it. I hope that you kind of learned the lesson, the main point of this episode, which is just about the fact that you got to be responsible. You have to be independent. And like, eventually you are going to have to leave your parents' house for good. So you need to be ready. You need to be ready because there are these responsibilities that you will need to have as you grow older, as you become an adult. So I'm lucky that I've already had to go through it, but a lot of people, they have not gone through it. So when you will go through it, because it's not an if, it is a when you go through it, you need to know what to expect. You need to know that you're going to have to increase the output when it comes to these little things, because these little things will make a big difference for the rest of your life during those days, during those times by yourself. So I think that's all I got to say for today. It's all about just responsibility. And again, it's something that a lot of people look over, take for granted, and a lot of people don't really think is important, but it really is important. It really makes for a better life if you can keep your room, keep your apartment, keep wherever you're living in as good, as clean, as tidy as it can possibly be, doing the chores you need to do. Having that responsibility allows everything else to kind of fall into place. But if you don't have that responsibility, you're a slob, you don't take care of yourself, you don't take care of your place, then that will translate into many other aspects of your life. So be careful. Be careful. Understand that these responsibilities are necessary, and you got to go through it to truly make everything else as easy as it can possibly be. So that's all I got to say for this episode of the 365 podcast. I thank you for watching as always. I appreciate you for being here, for making it this far. If you enjoyed this episode, if you learned something, if you found it a little bit interesting, me kind of talking a little bit about the things that I went through when I was living by myself, I might talk a little bit more about them in the future, because actually it's an interesting thing that I haven't actually revealed that much on this show, I'm going to be honest. If you enjoyed it, please let me know. Show your support by liking the video, by subscribing on YouTube, following on Spotify. Show your support in any way that you can. Leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of this episode. I appreciate you for being here. Thank you for watching this episode of the podcast. As always, I sign this episode off in the way I always do. Continue to go and glorify God every day throughout your life. And as always, I will see you tomorrow for the next one.